Our next speaker, Sujan Patel, he has 14 years of digital marketing experience, and he's a serial entrepreneur who didn't just found 1, 2, or 3 companies. He co-founded 6 software as a service companies. Honestly, I have no idea how he does that. And as if he didn't have enough to do, he also found another company called Web Profits, which is an agency with 100+ people who consult companies like LinkedIn or Salesforce in their growth strategy. So in this session, he will share his experience and his own framework on how to leverage one's own customers to get growth, and also will link it to an example of how he used it to generate 14,000 customers to one of his B2B companies, which is Mailshake. So without further ado, please welcome with warm applause on stage, Sujan Patel.
Hello, how you doing? I could do better than that. How you guys doing? All right, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. So I need the clicker, actually. But what I'm going to talk to you guys today about is a growth framework to leverage your customers to actually grow. Hang on one second. We'll get to it in a second. There you go. Thank you. I got too excited. I ran out. All right. So at the end of the day, I'm going to talk about the soft and fuzzy stuff, the feelings of your customers. Because realistically, your customers may forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. As Jikanja already, I run a lot of companies. I run 6 SaaS companies, I'm a co-founder of them. We got a great team. That's actually how I'm able to do it. It's not all me. But we use a very similar framework. And we actually used what I'm going to share with you today, and we learned it the hard way by trial and error and kind of figuring this out, to get Mailshake, which is my SaaS company, 5,500 customers. Now it's at 14,000, but the first 5,500 were gained through purely word of mouth and our own customers and the engagement we did. Prior to doing what I'm doing now, Web Profits and Mailshake and the other companies, I used to run marketing for another company called When I Work. And we used this exact same thing to gain 15,000 customers. Our marketing budget was very, very small, but our customer success, support, and a lot of the sales teams were really big to help engage these customers. So what is the C factor? What is this growth framework I'm going to talk to you today about? It's really 5 different things. First and foremost, it's optimizing that customer experience. It's communication and how you go about communicating with customers. It's content and content marketing. It's community, getting all your customers together in a group where they can talk to each other. And lastly, it's customer advocacy, turning those awesome customers you have into advocates and giving them megaphones so they can scream about your software or company from the rooftops. Now, they're probably not going to do that, but at least they can tell their friends. So let's jump into it. And I have a good amount of time for Q&A, so if you have any questions, definitely post them and we'll get to them at the end. So first and foremost, it's optimizing the first experience people have with your product. 2 screenshots here. One is of Evernote. I don't know about you guys, but Evernote, I use Evernote for grocery list with my wife. We share a little note of like what we need to buy. I use it for notes. I use my app to take pictures. There's lots of different ways you can use Evernote. And so if you were to just go sign up for Evernote or any note-taking app and you just got started, you probably utilize it the way you only think about it. And maybe everyone has their own different ways. But what Evernote does is they ask you how you're going to use this, or here's some ways you can use it. Based off what you select, they'll optimize or change that onboarding flow based off of what you're looking to do and what problem you're looking to solve. So let's jump into it. Really, what I mean here is optimizing that first 60 seconds of when somebody signs up or goes through. And frankly, if you have an e-commerce business, if you have a B2B mobile app, B2C, whatever it is, it doesn't matter if it's a software company or not, it's a service, whatever. It's about optimizing that first experience. And the first thing is when somebody signs up, they're excited, right? And so when they're excited, you want to keep that momentum going. The other thing is to thank your customers, right? When they sign up, even though they're purchasing from another company, there's still human beings on both sides, right? So B2B, people forget that there's human beings making the decision on both sides of this transaction or purchase. So acknowledge that, thank them, take a moment. Next thing is to swag them, right? Like if you have T-shirts, you have cards, and you guys are in for a treat a little later, but give them merchandise so they can rep your brand. It's a quick way to get them to become advocates. And lastly is to demonstrate you care. What I mean by this is, I don't know about you guys, but when I go into any product, I log into Salesforce, I log into Google Analytics, it takes me probably 15 minutes to figure out how the hell I can contact support if I have a problem. I have to like click around, I like click all the little buttons that go into the settings. It takes forever to figure out how to do that. And maybe it likely takes as long to figure out how to connect with somebody as it is to answer my own question. So make it clear how they can connect with you if you have problems. That's a very, very, very easy thing to do, and it's something you want to be proactive about so that they know how to get a hold of you. At the end of the day, it's not really about solving your customers' problems. It's actually just demonstrating that you care. And frankly, let's break it down. Not that you care, it's demonstrating that you give a crap, right? Because very few people these days, especially from a software company, care, right? They make it harder to find you, harder to connect with support. Go against the grain and do the opposite. Make it very, very easy. Yeah, you'll have to have more manpower, more people maybe to answer questions, but I can guarantee you it is cheaper to staff up your support and success team than it is to spend more on marketing. It's just that easy. And so it's just giving your customers a much, much better experience. So let's jump into communication. What does communication mean? That's just a fancy way of talking to your freaking customers. All right, raise a hand. How many people have talked to their customers in the last month? You raised your hand fast. That was fast. Month. Week? Today. How about today? How many people talked to? Wow, I'm impressed, guys. Talking to your customers at a conference. That's multitasking to another level. But what I mean by talking about customers or talking to your customers is ask them not about your software, not about your business. Ask them about them, what their biggest problems in their career is, what their biggest problem in their role, like what are they facing day to day, right? When you can really understand your customers, you can actually start to solve those problems. Now, I say not about your software because everyone focuses like, hey, what can we better do for you? But think about what else problems they have in their day-to-day, because if you can create content and some other things around that, that's going to be very, very helpful. I like to check in with my customers every 90 days. Usually it's an automated email. I change the email copy up, or it's an in-app message so that people know that, hey, I'm checking in. I want to make sure that things are going well. And at the end of the day, I've found that just checking in every 90 days actually for Mailshake improved our LTV and reduced our churn. It reduced our churn by like 25%. I think it's actually a little greater now after we did it every 90 days. That was the first 90 days, but it works really, really well. And another thing I like to do is conduct NPS surveys. So NPS stands for Net Promoter Score, and it's a 0 to 10 rating on how likely somebody is to recommend you to a friend or colleague. It's really, really simple, 0 to 10. 10, they love you, 0, they hate you. Figure out what their problem is. Another thing I like to do and engage with my customers is to ask them what the heck they're using your product or service or whatever you're selling for, right? So we bought this company called Voila Norbert. It's an email finding tool. It's pretty much made for salespeople, and essentially we thought most of the customers, it's a sales tool, so we thought most of our customers are salespeople, right? Pretty easy logic why we would think most of our customers are salespeople. But we did this survey at the very bottom of our first onboarding, the email that we sent out. We asked them, hey, what are you using this service for? Well, first of all, it's not all salespeople. I learned that the hard way. It was actually about 30% of people were salespeople. About 45% of people were marketers. I'm like, oh, wow, OK. I wasn't even thinking about that. And then this random segment of HR. And there are a lot of recruiters using the software. And so now I'm like, oh, OK, well, when I do marketing, when I do content, when I create content for the blog or whatever I'm doing on the marketing front, I have 2 other segments of customers that I was not previously targeting. So I'd be a fool to not market to them, not adjust my marketing strategy to make sure I tackle them, or at least my content. And at the end of the day, don't just communicate with your customers, connect with them, right? And so I'll walk you, at the end, I'll walk you through kind of my daily routine of how I do this. I spend 10, 15 minutes a day. It sounds really daunting, but it's not that hard. But I want to get into something really, really important, education, right? I asked you guys to ask your customers what their biggest problems are, right? Now it's time to create content that actually solves their biggest problem, right? It's really, really easy to forget this and create content about you. Nobody cares about 5 tips to do, like how to use your software, the tutorial. They care about solving their own problems, right? And so when you create content that's very like, here's how you use my product, you really are only targeting to the people who are asking or struggling with that specific problem. But when you create content, so for example, the company I talked about, Voila Norbert, if we created content for HR people and how to find the best recruits, how to scan resumes, how to get on a call with them faster, or something of that nature, we would be helping them do their job better. That's what I mean by content that solves their problems. Here's 3 examples here. I won't go into every single one of them, but essentially, if you can create content that solves your problems and then take it one step further and do keyword research. I've been SEO by trade. I started off in 2002 or 3 doing SEO, search engine optimization. And so I'm always thinking about this as a marketer, as an SEO guy. So I do keyword research. If you can do keyword research based off your customers' problems, and then rank your ideas, your content based off of the highest volume keywords, now you have content that solves your customers' problems and can bring in more of those types of customers because you can potentially rank well for them if you create the right content. So let's talk about community. What does community mean? First and foremost, community is not you talking to a group of people. This is not a community. Community would be all of us talking to each other, right? So a community means your customer 1 and customer 2 are talking to each other. A lot of people forget that. And they make these Facebook groups, or they make these groups, and they limit it to only certain people can post and whatnot. That's not a community. That's a user group, and it's a little different. But what I like to do is I invite my customers to a Slack group, to a Facebook group. Facebook group is kind of my preferred method these days because, frankly, everybody's on Facebook, and groups is a highly promoted thing from Facebook. They're prioritizing it and putting it in their news feed as if it was a part of your regular kind of news feed. So it's a great place to show. The example, the Small Business Mastermind, this is from whenIwork.com, where I served as a VP of marketing. Every single new customer that signed up, they went through that onboarding flow. We told them where they can find us. At the very end, say, hey, you should join our Facebook group with 14,000 like-minded small business owners. And we found that most of the customers, by talking to them, we realized that most small business owners that were signing up for When I Work were first-time business owners. And so we adjusted the messaging and said, hey, join our Facebook group so that you can learn things a lot easier. I know you're first-time business owners. You're amongst company, and we'll share good stuff. So in the beginning, we were sharing content. After a few weeks, people started posting comments. After a few weeks more of posting content and people commenting, people started sharing their own content. Now, all of a sudden, we started to back off. Fast forward 3 years later, we have a few thousand people in this group, and we just moderate it. In fact, we elected an internal customer to moderate it for us. So now the customers are kind of doing this whole thing on their own. Same thing goes with the Slack group. If you're in the tech space or a technology company selling to more technical customers, sales, developers, what have you, I think Slack could work. Otherwise, I would recommend Facebook. And lastly, I want to talk about advocates, creating customer advocates. So remember that NPS survey I told you guys about, the 0 to 10, how likely somebody is going to recommend you to a friend or colleague? Well, take the 9s and 10s. So typically 8, 9, and 10 are people who are already advocates. They are already telling their friends about you. Take those folks and ask them for something more. Ask them for a testimonial. Ask them for a review. We use this software at Mailshake and a lot of our other companies called Ask Nicely, asknice.ly. It's an awesome tool. It essentially allows you to take those NPS surveys and turn them instantly into testimonials. So you just have to go in the back end and approve the nice things people have to say. But essentially, if you don't use that, or if you do it manually, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Just ask your customers those folks for testimonials, for reviews. Another thing is when people use your software, there's some intended success moment, right? So if you use Mailshake, you're usually doing an email campaign with some drip, whatever. At the end of your campaign, you hit the send button. At some point, you're going to get success. You're going to be like, oh, this is working. And what we found at Mailshake, it's all about, for us, the open rate. So if you have an open rate greater than 45%, you're in the top 5% of our users. And so anyone who has an open rate of over 5% or 45%, and also a response rate of over 10%, we send them a little, like the next time they log in, like, woohoo, there's like balloons in the app, and we send them like a congratulations, you're the top 10 users, and hopefully you're getting sales and results by now. But we also ask them at the end of that, we say, hey, do you know any other folks that would be, that are, essentially would benefit from this product or would benefit from Mailshake? And we found very, very interesting that a lot of people click on that. And what that does is just opens up a live chat, or we're testing out email as well, but essentially just sends us an email, and it flags that user so we can connect with them at a later time. And those are the people who are advocates, who are successfully using the product, or at the high NPS score folks, who are raising their hands saying, I love this product, I want to do more. And lastly is to take those people that are raising their hands and ask them more questions, right? Make them look good, interview them, share their success story. Ask them to maybe contribute to the blog. Maybe these are the folks that you want them to be the moderators of your community. So these are folks that are the power users, and it's essentially a very easy way to identify them, or a systematical way. One of the things I like to do is, at the very beginning of when somebody signs up for our companies, we ask them this little old school tactic. How'd you hear about us? This is what television companies and offline companies have been doing to measure their marketing effectiveness for quite some time. So we figured, OK, it's the internet age, but why don't we just ask them just in case? And realistically, the data was very different than what we saw on Google Analytics and our tracking. A lot of folks were saying they heard about us from a friend or colleague. And so we took it one step further. So when you put in a friend or colleague on a drop-down menu, an input box opens up and says, tell us who. We just want to thank them. And so people put their names in. Sometimes people put John Smith. I'm like, I'm not going to find John Smith. No way. Too many John Smiths out there. I was going to use like an Austrian example, but I don't know what a common Austrian name is. But anyways, every week or every day, we get this notification in Slack. When someone signs up and they say friend or colleague, we just make a document of all the people's names. And every week, we go and thank them. So I used to email them. And email worked pretty well, but what I realized is I started finding them on social media, LinkedIn and Twitter or Facebook, and I just started pinging them saying, hey, thanks for recommending Mailshake. It probably didn't take much of your time, but it means the world to us. And I kind of tweaked that message. So now every week, I thank the 15, 20, 50 people, whatever that number is, and I just message them and thank them very, very simply. That leads to more referrals from us because they're top of mind. And the interesting thing is people actually took screenshots of me just messaging them and shared it on the web. They're like, hey, this company is actually a real human being. Remember I said in the beginning, they may not remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. They just feel good, right? Somebody thanking them for being a customer, very, very few companies do this. So make sure you do that. So here's my daily routine. I told you it takes me 15 minutes a day, somewhere between 5 and 15, depending on how many people I have. So Monday, I look at the NPS surveys. And why Monday? That's just the email. Every week, I get a report of the NPS responses. So that's kind of what dictated the start of this routine, an automated email. And I asked the promoters for a testimonial or a review. On Tuesday, I look through our product data. I look through our analytics. I use Amplitude and essentially look for the people who are the power users, right? So I mentioned we found that the people that had 45% open rates, 10% reply rates, we have these filters. So now every week, we just kind of collect the data and we know who they are. So I just ping them and say, hey, can I interview you? Can I talk to you? I want to give you access to something. I want to pick your brain, essentially, just connecting with them every Tuesday. On Wednesday, one user at a time, I do a 10, 15-minute interview. Get on the phone. Sometimes it's in person. I met with the user yesterday. And I just ask them what they want to do, what's making them successful, what they love and what they hate. What do they want to see and things like that. Thursday, I'm on cloud 9 by Wednesday because I talk to the best users. On Thursday, go back to ground level, and I talk to my churn customers. Why did they leave? I just want to figure that out. And then Friday, I email and message those people who recommended us. It's very, very simple. Should take 15 minutes. So the key takeaways here, and then we'll go into Q&A. I know we have a few minutes for that. First and foremost is create content that solves your customers' problems and, frankly, makes your customers smarter. Remember, I didn't say anything about you. Don't talk about yourself or your company, what have you. Number 2 is to train your customer support, your success, your sales team to take that content that you're creating and make sure at the end of their conversations they wrap it up with like, hey, thought you might like this, or based off what you said, here's an article I think that would help you get better results or what have you. And lastly is to make sure, no matter what role you're in, to set aside some time weekly to actually connect with your customers. Slides are available here. Thank you guys, and we'll have some Q&A, right? Awesome.
So you can use Slido to ask questions, slido.com, #Pioneers'18, select Academy, and we already have a few. So first one, what are your conversion rates on customer surveys and how do you increase them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we had a really, really low conversion rate when we started. They were in the 10 to 15% on emails. Once we switched to in-app, it jumped to about 30, 35%. Now, when you jump into in-app surveys, the big downside is you're in somebody's way. So just be careful of when you actually ask that question. So now we did it after they finished a workflow. So after they sent a campaign or what have you. But I do in-app. It's somewhere between 35 to 40% depending on how aggressive we are asking that question. And we're happy with that number.
OK. There's an interesting question, which is you mentioned that you connect with your customers. Wait, oh, there. How do you do that without being spammy?
How do you do it without being spammy? I don't know. So first and foremost, it's about how you say, it's what you say, it's about how you connect. Offer to help them, right? You don't end up being spammy if you're helping somebody at the end of the day. You can email them. I like to just do one-off emails, just very, very easy. You can also look through kind of your support logs and just ping them. I think people are too scared of sounding spammy or trying to how do you do this at scale? And they forget to you just hit the send button and get that conversation going. Now, my success rate of connecting with people is not 100%. It's closer to 50, 60%. But again, the 100% of the people, for the most part, appreciate the sentiment of offering. And I get the privilege of being the co-founder who connects with people. But if you're not the co-founder, send it on behalf of your co-founder, or say, hey, I'm on the marketing team. I want to connect with you. So.
All right, so John, we're running out of time soon, but this question could be interesting. Do you still get meaningful insights talking to customers so frequently? I do, yes, all the time. I was talking to, actually, this morning before I came here, I was talking to a customer, and she was, I do campaign reviews with our customers. My job at Mailshake, at least my role today, is customer success. We're hiring somebody, but I'm filling in the meantime, and I want to learn what people are saying. So I have this the canned messages I say. It's like, I know what they're going to ask me, but at the very end, they're like, there's always, at the very end or the middle of a conversation, somebody always throws me off like, hey, I'm using your tool for this, or like, I had this problem or this happens. So I get to know about edge cases. I get to know about all the quirky ways people use the software, and maybe those are new ways. So we found out a few weeks ago that people are using Mailshake as an alternative to MailChimp. We are not an email marketing software, more an outbound sales software. And I'm like, holy crap. And we figured out a way to actually make Mailshake work as an email marketing tool. So I'm not saying we're going to do this, but it opened up a whole new category of a product we had no clue or were not thinking about. So every couple of phone calls, I get a very aha moment, and it's amazing. All right, Sujan, unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you very much. Please give it up for Sujan Patel. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.